Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member DeCiccio.
Here.
Board Member Guevara.
Here.
Board Member Mendoza.
Here.
Board Member Nowakowski.
Here.
Board Member Pastor.
Here.
Board Member Stark. Board Member Wiesahan.
Here.
Board Member Williams.
Here.
Vice Chair Waring. Here. Chairwoman Gallego.
Here. Board Member Wiesnahan, have you had a chance to review the February 20th meeting minutes, and do you have a motion?
Yes, I have, and I move that they be accepted as read.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Item number 4, related to the application to HUD.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to submit a deposition application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to sell city-owned property, and authorizing the city manager to take all actions and execute all documents as may be necessary or appropriate to implement the provisions of this resolution. And I move that it be accepted.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Number 5, an additional resolution.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to implement the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's rental assistance demonstration program for the Marco Deniza Public Housing Community, and authorizing the city manager to proceed with all actions necessary or appropriate to implement the RAD program. I move this be accepted.
We have a motion and a second from Councilwoman Williams. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Nice work. With that, we will adjourn the meeting of the Assisted Housing Governing Board and call to order the City Council's formal meeting. Will the clerk please call the order?
Councilman DeCiccio.
Yes. Here.
Councilwoman Guevara.
Here.
Councilwoman Mendoza. Councilman Nowakowski.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilwoman Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Waring. Mayor Gallego.
Here. We have an interpreter who is here with us today. Would you please introduce yourself for the audience?
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Mario Barajas. I'm going to be today's Spanish interpreter. I'm going to be making a brief announcement in Spanish. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Mario Barajas. Voy a estar sirviendo como el intérprete de español. Si alguien necesitara el servicio de intérprete de español, puede pasar hacia atrás. Pueden acudir a cualquier miembro del personal de la ciudad para pedir los aparatos para la interpretación. Gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting, and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G6581 through 6582, S45422, 45495, 45500, and 45539 through 45583, and resolutions 21736 through 21739.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pastor, have you had a chance to review the meeting minutes from December 12th?
I have, and I approve those minutes. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on boards and commissions and the order of the meeting?
Motion to suspend the rules and take item 111 out of order.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Do you have a motion on the boards and commissions?
Motion to approve mayor and city council board and commissions nominations.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We have a few individuals, including one of our constables here today to be sworn in. Welcome. Please raise your hand, right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona. That I will support the Constitution. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic. and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of
That will faithfully discharge the office and duties of the village of the office of self-promotion.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
According to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations. Do we have any cards on liquor? Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on liquor license applications?
Motion to approve items 2 through 21.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning, and zoning?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, do you have a motion?
Motion to approve items 22 through 110, except the following. Items 22, 33, 39, 41, 52, 53, 54, 57, 64, 66, 70, 74, 75, 77, 106, 107, and 108. Items 69 and 73 have been withdrawn. Item 62 is requested to be continued until May 1st, 2019. Item 70 is as corrected, but we'll do that when we do it separately, correct? Items 54 and 106, which have both been pulled, are going to be as revised.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those, roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara. Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski. Pastor. Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Item 22.
I move item 22.
Second.
Any discussion or council member questions? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza. Nowakowski. Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
No.
Gallego.
Yes. Item passes 6-2.
Move to approve item 33.
Second.
7-2. Do we have a second for item 33?
I second.
Okay. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza. Nowakowski. Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes. Item passes 8-1. I forgot an important item of business related to a guest from District 3. Caden, who is an 8th grade student at Mission Montessori Academy at St. George, is here with us today, and we are excited. He may be a future mayor or council member, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor, and I would look out for him. He might be your competition.
The city would be well served and lucky to have him, and looking forward to a budget meeting, so we wish you good luck and give us good advice while you're there. And then we will turn to item 39. Do we have a motion on item 39?
approval.
Second.
All those, roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
No.
Gallego.
Yes, item passes 8-1. Item 41.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Nowakowski,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark, Williams,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Gallego.
Yes. Item passes 8-1. Item number 52.
Move approval.
Second.
We have questions from Councilwoman Mendoza.
'52. Finance Department.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So my understanding is that Public Works manages our badging system. And Public Works is an enterprise department. And the Convention Center also generates revenue. In fact, in the last fiscal year, it generated about $10 million, $9.5 million. So my question is, why didn't staff foresee this issue and build money for it in our budget, or in their budget? And why didn't we forecast the system's replacement before it met its end of life, so we don't have to be taking out a loan to replace it?
Mayor, Councilwoman Mendoza, the enterprise funds have budgeted for this item. The security and access control item it's the general fund departments that are.
I can't hear.
You cannot.
I can't hear.
So the enterprise funds, including solid waste and convention center, have budgeted for the security and access control item. So that it was budgeted for by them, but that does not cover the cost of the general fund departments, which also have needs in the security and access control area.
My understanding is that only Public Works has about $13 million to put towards this badging system.
Yes, Councilwoman Mendoza, that's about the right amount.
That's Public Works.
That's Public Works, but
How about the Convention Center?
so the way we're actually going to be funding, if I may, the way we're proposing to fund the badging system is we're actually going to be issuing excise tax debt pretty soon. And so while we're issuing that excise tax debt, we're proposing that we fund this system with debt. And so the whole amount is about $25 million for the badging system, but then we would be paying annual debt service payments in the budgets. So the budgets will come from the general fund. They will come from the enterprise funds. So it's going to be like an annual payment. It's like a loan, and then we'll be paying an annual payment on that system. And so the budget does incorporate those payments.
Okay, so I'm confused. Are you going to add the $50 million that you're asking here to the $150 million to the arena fund?
That's correct. So what we do is when we sell bonds and like we sell multiple bonds. Okay, so the total bond amount that we're going to be issuing is $200 million. So that would include $150 million for the arena, which the council's already authorized. And then we would have another $50 million, of which 25 would be for the badging system, and the other 25 would be for, the shoring wall for the convention center.
Okay, so $200 million in bonds, and that payment's going to come out from where? The sports facility fund?
So the arena would be paid for. So then that $200 million of bonds would have annual debt service payments, right, of which some of it will come from the sports facilities fund. That would cover the 150. Then some of it will come from the convention center. Mm-hmm. They would cover the shoring wall portion, mm-hmm, which is $25 million. And then the rest would come from the general fund and the enterprise portion for the badging system.
But we don't know how much money is coming from the convention center or Public Works.
Mayor, Councilwoman Mendoza, the security and access control issue is to be, we are going to put an RFP out and we'll get a hard number for that amount, but at this time we just have an estimate.
Huh? That's all the questions I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Oh, Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Councilman Pastor and then Councilman DeCiccio.
So I think.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Mendoza, I guess my question is, I would like to know what each department is paying for. And what I mean by paying for, I understand it's the wall and it's the badging, but percentage-wise or amount-wise, what they would be paying for. I guess you could just.
Mayor Gallego and members of the City Council, the total estimated project is estimated at $25 million. Of that, 60% of the money is identified for general fund, around $15 million. The remaining $10 million was identified for $15 million was for the general fund departments, and $10 million is for the enterprise departments, which is 40% of the total project cost.
Any additional council member questions?
Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman DeCiccio.
That's okay. It's easier to get me lost. Hey, I'd like to ask a question. How long does the badging system last?
Okay. The estimated life of the badging system is roughly 15 to 20 years.
How long did the last one last?
The badging system was installed in 2004, so it is approaching close to 15 to 16 years, and it is definitely end of life, and it has exceeded its estimated life since we've had it since 2004 throughout the city.
So these bonds are going to go, I believe, 18 years. Is that correct?
Mayor, City Council, what we do is we match up the lives of the asset that we're funding with the number of years that the debt is outstanding. So we do that matchup. So for the badging system, we would probably issue debt for 15 years.
And how much is this badging system going to cost taxpayers by the time we're done with it, with interest?
Mayor, City Council, I don't know if what we're anticipating right now is an interest rate of below 3%. So it's not going to be that expensive. There's a lot of factors that go into that, and so I would know that once we issue the debt.
So you're probably going to be in the 35 million range or something like that.
Something close to that.
So, I mean, when you look at this, I understand why people want to bond, but it goes into the whole debate of whether you should use capital bonding or you just use it for operational. If you look at what happened back in the crisis, and right now we're in a good economy and all that, but that doesn't mean it's not going to collapse on us. And when you start bonding for, well, this is what happened. You had homeowners taking out second mortgages, basically bonding, taking out a mortgage for, buy jeans and buying computers, things like that. And then that debt caught up with people. I think it's a problematic thing when we start bonding for operational things rather than capital, because that's what the whole bonding mechanism was for. You run into fiscal problems. You don't see them today, but you start seeing them in the future when you have to make those payments and you can't make them. So we're going to hit bad times again. And if we don't have another way of doing this other than bonding for operational goods, we're going to run into problems. So I'm going to be voting no on this, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion. We do not have a second. We have a second from Councilwoman Williams. Oh, sorry, we need an additional second.
I think I'm leaning towards continuing it to get some more information. I think there's some valid comments that came up. So if I could do a substitute motion and continue it to the next available agenda, which would be.
If that's a secondary.
I'd second that, Mayor.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
I'll let you second.
We have a motion to continue to the next council meeting and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes
Aye.
unanimously. All right, that item is continued. We now move to item 53. Greta Rogers has comments on items 53 through 63 and is marked as neutral.
Comments. With your permission, after I've listened to the presentation by the applicant and/or his attorney. Thank you.
And we have a card on items 53 through 63.
53 and 63, not through.
All right. Item 53 is an item that our city housing department brought forward. So there is not, the housing director could provide comments. We did not plan a presentation on Deck Park Vistas. So did you want to comment on Deck Park Vistas? Okay. So I think we heard correctly, no comments on item 53. So, and item 63 was approved and there is no report. So with that, I would entertain a motion on item 53.
Move to approve item 53.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio?
Yes.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski? Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Williams? Waring?
Yes.
Gallego?
Yes. Passes unanimously. Item 54.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call.
DeCiccio?
No.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza? Nowakowski? Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Williams?
Yes.
Waring?
No.
Gallego?
Yes. Passes 8 to 1, 7 to 1, 7 to 2. All right, item 57 is a housing project in District.
I move to approve.
Second.
Mayor, hold on a second. I thought 55 was pulled as well. Is that not correct?
Nope.
No.
It wasn't.
Item 55 is
56.
home loans for Mesquite Terrace, a affordable housing development.
Oh, okay. This is the one that involves trellis or
So
not?
item 55 is a development in
Oh, I
District
see.
4. We are about to hear the item
Right.
that involves trellis, and we,
Right. That's not this one. It's number 50,
57.
57, right.
7.
so we,
Okay.
Councilwoman Stark just made a motion in favor of the item involving trellis, and we do have 2 cards. So Glenn Kaleson marked in favor of item 57. Is, oh,
I appreciate you guys hearing me today, Mayor and Council. I'm just here to answer any questions that you may have regarding this, because I'm here representing Trellis, which is the ownership on this LIHTC or Home Fund development. So if you have anything you want, I'm here to answer. Other than that, I'm in favor of it.
Councilman DeCiccio or any council members, do you have questions? Or,
No, I got my questions answered from staff, Mayor, but it's just part of the same thing that was done in the past. I just think that they're being treated differently, and I'm just going to be voting no.
all right. Any further council questions or comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio?
No.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski?
I'll be a no.
Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Williams? Waring?
No.
Gallego?
Yes. Passes 6 to 3. Next item is item 64, and we have a staff presentation from our Community and Economic Development Director, as well as our Assistant City Manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. We are here today to talk to you about a very exciting project for downtown Phoenix, and that is the completion of a request for proposal for Central Station. Just a quick presentation just to familiarize you with the site. This is a city-owned transit site located at the northwest corner of Central and Van Buren. Zooming in on the site just a little bit, you can see how the site looks today. It is 2.6 acres in city ownership. If we look in history, in 1997, the site was acquired using Federal Transit Administration dollars as a bus hub for this location. In 2013, City Council did authorize the issuance of a request for proposal on the site to bring transit-oriented development. A successful proposer was selected, and we went into negotiations with that proposer. Unfortunately, he passed away prior to starting construction on the site. His family chose to give the site back to the city and not develop the site. In 2018, Council authorized staff to issue another request for proposal. In June of 2018, that proposal was issued. In October of 2018, a panel did sit and recommended a proposer. Of the initial submittals, there were 4 submittals for this RFP. 1 was deemed non-responsive, and 3 did sit before their interview. The panel unanimously selected Metastar Development out of Houston, who you see doing business in your packet as Red Electric Ventures. So again, Metastar out of Houston, Graystar, which is the largest high-density residential developer in the country and the 2nd largest student housing developer in the country, Pogue Shopping Centers, they were the ones who coined lifestyle centers as their partner, as well as the Intercontinental Hotel, who is a partner on the site. If we look at the concept to activate the site, first would be the city's transit office. Today, the transit office is in about 5,000 square feet on the site, and the developer would be replacing the transit site in approximately 9,000 square feet at no cost to transit. On item B is 300 high-density residential units. C would be 150 key Intercontinental Hotel. Would also be 35,000 square feet of creative office, retail, restaurant, and potentially a grocer or other type of user in the future. There would be event space and shade crossing between the project and Civic Space Park. And then 217 units of student housing, which represents 600 beds. And then an amenity deck to keep open space for the project. I think one of the things that was most important to the panel was its connection and connectivity to Civic Space Park and making sure that it engaged well with our existing Civic Space Park. The single most important thing to the Citizens Transportation Commission, who of course provides their guidance to council, was that first and foremost, this had to remain a transit site and function as a well-rounded transit site. There were things that were asked for of this RFP before we issued, and of particular importance to the chairman of the Citizens Transportation Commission at that time. And that was to keep the site permeable, to not put any additional bus or traffic activity caused by the transit center onto Central Avenue or First Avenue. What I mean by that is today, about 340 buses move through the site, and it was very important to them that those buses not go back out to that site. It was also very important to the Citizens Transportation Commission that the site remain accessible between the Central Avenue platform and the First Avenue platform for transit riders to be able to move easily through the site, not to have to go back to Van Buren or over to Polk if they were moving from northbound to southbound. The pictures you see in front of you kind of represent how that moves. This would be the connection from Central Avenue to First Avenue for bus and transit riders. This is kind of a view corridor from the amenity deck. This is street activation of the project with both retail and creative office. And other things it offers, there's kind of a stair amphitheater that is under the shade structure for outdoor performers and performances, really inviting people into the site. And again, from the Citizens Transportation Commission, that was critically important to them, was the site really engaged well with the public and with transit. Of all the submittals, it was the only submittal that met all the requirements of both the City Council and the Citizens Transportation Commission. We're before you today with proposed highlights. This is 100% private development. The city would not be doing any development on the site. It is a 99-year land lease, which will put additional funding into our transit system. It would be annual lease payments to the transit system starting at $614,000 a year and escalating beginning in year 21 and continuing that escalation through to year 99. It is a transit-oriented development, mixed-use project. Just an estimated construction timeline, about 8 months to get through our development agreement process. While that seems like a long time, the Federal Transportation Administration does have purview over the development of this site. In other words, they have to approve the full development agreement. Since we've not done a joint development agreement with the FTA yet, we don't know what that time takes. So we've built in a little extra time to make sure we're not back before you. 24 months to commence construction on the site. This is probably the single most complicated site to develop in all of downtown Phoenix. It's bounded by light rail on both the east and the west. As you all know, if you put a teaspoon in the ground down here, you hit something. You've got to relocate all of the bus activity off of the site so that you can dig and construct on the site, and then you have to move the bus activity back onto the site. This does not touch light rail at all. The estimated benefits to the site are creating a new iconic transit center, increased activity in downtown, high-rise TOD development, additional revenue for the transit operations, and approximately $231 million in new capital investment into downtown. 2,400 construction jobs are anticipated at this site, with about 1,200 new permanent full-time jobs existing on the site. One of the items that I was asked by several council members is, why not just sell the site? If you sold the site, wouldn't that just be easier to put a one-time revenue into transit? So I really wanted to take this opportunity to show you what those two would look like. So if we looked at our land revenue, if we sold the site, its current appraised value is $12.8 million. So we would expect to get somewhere around that value for it. The land lease payments over 99 years to the City of Phoenix Transit Department are approximately $171 million. So quite an increase of new revenue that this council will get to program into our transit system that we otherwise would not have over the next 99 years. If we look at property tax, we estimate about $686 million in property tax on the built improvements. What's important to note, and I want to be very clear, the city will retain ownership of the land itself. So the land, based on state statute, we do not pay property tax on land as a city. But any improvements, all the buildings, any new streets, any new functions that happen on the site will absolutely pay full ad valorem property tax. So you see those two as even. If we look at our land, if we sold the land right now for $12.8 million, over 99 years, we'd see approximately $22 million in additional property tax that would come off of that, and zero on a land lease. Again, we own the land for 99 years. If we look at construction sales tax, $2.6 million. City sales tax, and what I mean by that, it's for apartment rental, retail sales tax, not retail sales tax, but rent of the retail space, rent of the office space. This does not include any retail sales tax that would come off of goods and services sold here. So if we compare the revenue in selling the site or keeping the site, including the fact that we do not pay property tax on the land during the 99 years, you'd see about $878 million of revenue off the project if we sold it today, and we'd see approximately $1 billion of revenue off the site if we retain long-term ownership, or a benefit to the city of $121 million in that long-term ownership and long-term lease payments. On top of that, if we dispose of the land today, at the end of 99 years, we don't own the land anymore. The city has no interest in the land. At the end of 99 years, we get all of the built environment back. So we can now sell the buildings, we can sell the land, we can do another lease on it. The council in 99 years can make a decision. I promise you I won't be here doing the presentation, can make a decision as to what they want to do to monetize that site for the city of Phoenix. We have had quite a number of community meetings on this project. Before we issued the request for proposal, we did have 11 public meetings to gauge their input into the RFP, and we had 6 stakeholder meetings. And what I mean by stakeholder meetings is property owners that surround the site and others with interest in and around the site. Once we had the recommended proposal, we took it back out to the public, and we did 9 public meetings and 13 stakeholder meetings. This is a project that is a very exciting project for downtown Phoenix, and it truly will activate now what is a pretty, dead's not the right word, but a less than active site for downtown and for the city of Phoenix. And that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Would you like to hear from the applicant?
Sure.
Wonderful. Nick Wood with Snell and Wilmer on behalf of the applicant.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Nick Wood. I'm with the law firm of Snell and Wilmer. My address is 1 Arizona Center, and I represent Metastar. Mr. Manza Harani is here today. I think if you can wave. Mr. Harani has owned and operated Metastar for about 48 years. And in those 48 years, he's developed over 500 projects all over the country, including many of the buildings that you'll see at the Texas Medical Center in Houston. And when he sat down to interview me for the job and began to tell me the project that he was going to create, it was pretty exciting. You have a 300-foot tall building you see on the screen. It includes 300 luxury apartment buildings. It includes 150 keys for a full-service hotel. It includes a student housing building, and that's just the other building that you see there on the screen. And that will have 600 beds. He also has 47,000 square feet of retail and another 35,000 square feet of office with underground parking. And as you can see, there's a connection, a shade connection between the project and the park. And of course, the cost of integrating the bus terminal into this project was an incredible feat. And Gensler, who did the design, was just a genius way that he did it. But again, it's extremely costly. So, you know, you've all seen me up here many, many times in downtown projects, and I always bring you a Jeeplet, particularly when you've got standalone projects. So, of course, I brought up Jeeplet to Mr. Harani, and he asked me what it's about and how it works, and I explained that to him, and about the 8-year period and the fact that it's total abatement of taxes for the 8 years. And he asked me, well, what's magic about the 8 years? I said, well, as you are aware, because you've developed so many high-rise buildings yourself around the country, high-rise development is not for the faint of heart. Clearly, the cost of construction, whether it's material costs, labor costs, land costs, interest rates, they continue to climb. And, you know, the profit margins on these buildings are usually pretty razor thin. So what the Jeeplet allows them to do is, A, have a little bit of room, create at least some incentive, if you will, to actually take the risk. But more importantly, that 8-year term allows the building to be stabilized. Because when you finish it and the Jeeplet is created, you don't have a full building. Typically, it's maybe half full, maybe even less than that. Of course, then you have to give some rental concessions to attract tenants. So it takes about 8 years for the building to become stabilized. Mr. Harani looked at me and said, I don't need one. He said, I've used, tax increment financing deals, I've used other incentive deals over the years, but this time I don't need it. Of course, I said, why is that? He said, well, student housing, for example. He said, that will be full day one. The demands for student housing in downtown, and I think everybody in this room is aware of it, there will be 600 beds that will be full the very first day. In addition, I've got 47,000 square feet of retail in a transit center. Now, transit-oriented retail is very specialized, and the line of people who want to occupy that space is long and distinguished. You basically have everything from a grocery store to restaurants, dry cleaners, I mean, you name it, grab-and-go types of activities. So basically, Mr. Harani said, I don't need it because I've got this mixed-use project, and so many elements of it will be full right away. I don't feel comfortable asking the city for something I don't need. Of course, you guys know me, I don't give up. So I said, well, there's another reason to ask for the Jeeplet, and that is the fact that the FTA will not support the sale of this project. Basically, the city can't sell it. So what happens? You're going to have to go on a long-term ground lease, and the city set forth the lease payments that they want to see over the term. This property today is worth $12.5 million. If the FTA was okay with you selling it, you'd write a check for $12.5 million and you're done. But over the next 99 years, you or whomever buys it from you, total will pay $171 million for this land. And so you're paying 14 times the value over the term. And to make matters worse, at the end of the 99 years, you don't own anything anymore. You're a tenant and you're shown the street and you have to move on to your next project. And he said, that's okay because that's what the city is offering for a deal. And I'm not going to try and retrade the deal with the city, right? I'm going to give them, what they're asking for, and I'm not going to go back and try and redo it. So again, not to be, not to let it go, I asked again another reason. And that is, look, if you're going to sell this property anytime within the first 8 years of what would be a Jeeplet, it's very valuable to you. And the reason is that if there was a Jeeplet on this property, the Jeeplet savings during the first 8 years would be about $25 million. I said, if you're going to sell this in year 4 or year 5 of a Jeeplet, it adds value to the leasehold interest that you're going to sell. And he said, well, Nick, I'm going to hold this for a long, long time. I said, well, how long? And he looked at me and smiled and he said, well, make sure that one of your great-grandkids goes to law school because I'm going to need a good lawyer at the end of this lease to represent me into my next project. So this is the kind of man that really wants to become a partner with the city. Now, I want to talk about workforce housing. We had a presentation with the downtown subcommittee a couple of weeks ago, and I was asked by Councilwoman Pastor, who's the chair of the committee, as well as Councilman Nowakowski, Councilwoman Mendoza, Councilwoman Stark, if we would consider providing workforce housing. And of course, the last 2 projects I brought to you, one was a high-rise multifamily called Palm Court at 5th Avenue and Van Buren, and the other was the Duo, which is at 3rd Avenue and Fillmore. In both of those cases, for those Jeeplets, we agreed to do workforce housing. And I'm the first one to bring those forward, and I'm a big supporter of that, as I shared with you before. My dad worked in a factory, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and we were part of the workforce housing, world back when I grew up. So I know how important it is, and I know how critically important it is, and I know what the need and the demand is. So in speaking to my other clients about it, the argument was really easy for me to make. And that was, you're receiving $8 million a year in tax savings during the 8-year Jeeplets on those 2 projects, giving back 10% of the units on one as workforce housing for the 8-year period, or giving back 8% plus some public parking in the other, right, is a good exchange. It's a fair exchange of value for value. And of course, here, Mr. Harani is elected not to ask for a Jeeplet. He's not asking for any assistance from the city at all. So I anticipated that his response would be no. Well, the very day that we left the subcommittee meeting, and speaking with Mr. Harani, because again, he was not there, he said, look, he said, I understand the need for workforce housing. He said, and I've provided it in other projects. And I understand that typically it's a give and take. If the city is giving you some assistance, you should give something back. And I'm not asking for assistance here, however, it's the right thing to do. He said, there are people, not only nurses, not only teachers, not only our first responders, fire and police, but there's also people who work in the factories around here, even the men and women who'll be wearing hard hats and building this project, right? They're all part of that workforce world. So under those circumstances, even though I'm not getting anything back, right, even though I'm walking away from potentially asking for a Jeeplet of $25 million savings, even though this is a very costly project for me, even though it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to put workforce housing in the tower. Now, I'm not talking about putting workforce housing in student housing. None of us would want to live in student housing, right, no matter what level of income we are. I know because I raised 4 kids, and I wouldn't want to live with them in college either. But the bottom line is, it's going to have to go in that tall tower in the luxury apartment building. The first 7 stories, or first 6 stories, is hotel. It's a full-service hotel. And as a result, You know, the first floor is going to be the 7th floor. That's expensive space, right? And as you go higher in the tower, it gets more and more expensive. So basically, what he's willing to do, and he asked me to commit to do tonight, if you approve this, is he'll set aside 15 workforce housing units in the tower. And he will do that not just for the 8 years that we've typically done in others, he'll do it for 10. Now, I want you to know what that will cost him. Basically, based upon the rental he would otherwise be able to realize over that 10-year period, he will collect about a little over $250,000 less per year. So all in, it'll be about $2.75 million of less rent he'll be able to collect during the 10-year period that he's willing to do this. But he's doing it because it's the right thing to do, and he's doing it because, frankly, the members of the subcommittee asked for it. He applauds you for looking out for those who really are in need, and frankly, it wasn't something that he really thought about before, simply because it wasn't asked for in the RFP. But the moment you brought it to his attention, he said it's the right thing to do. So this is part of the commitment that's there, and we hope that you are willing to support this tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? We have cards on the topic, so we'll go ahead and take the cards. Sandy Villatoro marked opposed. And she will be followed by Diane Barker.
Hello, my name is Sandy Villatoro. Thank you for having me, Mayor and City Council. I have worked at the Sheraton Grand for the last 4 years as a housekeeper. I live at 2227 North 25th Place. Currently, I have to drive to work downtown. It's getting harder, and I'm having to park further out because of all the free parking that used to exist is going away. Along with the new condos and restaurants, meters have come too. I have to walk half a mile to the hotel from where I can park. Sometimes I work the second shift, which means I have to do that walk at midnight. I want to be able to walk to work. A year after I started working at the hotel, I decided to try to move downtown. When I went to look for an apartment, though, I was shocked with the rent. The places I found had no amenities. I was gonna have to pay what I was paying for a 3-bedroom to get a 1-bedroom. And the condos were even worse. I would have to pay the same price as for a house. After a month, I gave up my search. Now, though, I need to find a new place because I have another baby on the way. I'm anxious because the prices are going up still, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. As a housekeeper, my work is to make people feel at home and want to come back. I love what I do. I wish, though, that I could live closer to where I work. I don't need the city to pay my rent because I can do that, but I need the city to help get more affordable housing downtown. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Diane Barker, followed by Steve Betts.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Diane Barker. I'm in District 7, and this is a very important project right downtown Phoenix. For years, I've used it to transfer on the bus and the light rail. And I have learned from Christine McKay and also Nick Woods and the last speaker that what we're doing about affordable housing. And I'm fully for the city in the future putting it in RFPs with the developer for the minimums of affordable housing. Now, on this, I did attend a meeting, and I have been a transit user for years here, all over the valley, for 7 years. I'll put my experience up against any Citizens Transportation Commission member, and I say this to you is their heart always goes out for the user, but I know I've been to their meetings, and I know they're going to their single occupancy car because I've been over at the MAG building, and they don't get out at the bus stop level, okay? So what I'm saying is that for them to say they need to have that passageway, that aisleway, I am saying that the city now has invested in talking sticks. There's a lot of land back there that we make an intermodal center, and we make these bus lines that the city has go there, not in the center of the city where there's higher density right there and the growing apartment buildings. That way it would give more space for this developer to build. The new development would have taxes on it, according to Christine McKay, and instead of 15 units, you get 30 units for these affordable market rate, workforce market rate. So we have a lot of things happening. Be open-minded about the transformation of transit in Phoenix.
Thank you. Steve Betts' comment will be followed by David Lucero. Steve Betts writes, I support the staff recommended developer and development agreement as the former chair of the Urban Land Institute of Arizona and developer of projects like Hayden Ferry Lakeside on Tempe Town Lake. I believe this plan is best for my city in terms of a mix of land uses, densities, quality land and development plan, and limited ask from the city. Thank you. David Lucero is next. And David will be followed by Brian Cassidy.
Good afternoon, City Council and Mayor. I'm not a public speaker. I don't know how this process works, but I'm here. I understand the viability of this project. It's very important. There's all kinds of revenue that's going to come in. The issue that I'm concerned about is, as the invocation started today, was about life and respecting all of it. I'm concerned about the trees and plants that are there. Is there anything in there where life that is currently there is going to be respected? I know that after speaking with the city ad nauseum, that there is the Arizona Landscape Contractors Association that has some kind of policy agreement with the city to rebox trees and plants. Also, MAG, Maricopa Association of Government, the City of Phoenix Street and Transportation Department also has public policies in this regard. The Community and Economic Department also have public policy. I'm hoping that the City Council, when they do approve this, will consider the life that is presently there at that site, because it's been there 23 to 25 years. I think it would be wrong to kill these plants and trees and have no regard for it. You can call me a 1960s tree hugger, I am, okay? I'm a child of this, I'm a guy from the 60s who's now 60, and I do care about nature. I would like to ask some of the City Council, those that will be voting on this, to take a trip to that site. Right now, we have a very unique thing. We have these beautiful flowers there everywhere. They're blossoming. And that is the kind of thing that you find at the National Mall in Washington, D.C., in downtown Denver, and other large cities. You have all these beautiful, at springtime, these blossoms. And here we have it in central Phoenix. It would be wrong to just destroy this whole thing and then just put this big building there. I'm opposed to this project for that reason, is that we have to respect life.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're a good public speaker, though. I think you're in good shape.
Okay, all right. Sorry,
Brian Cassidy will be followed by Greta Rogers.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Brian Cassidy. I'm an architect in the Warehouse District working on a lot of projects of this caliber, and I would just recommend to the city that this is the big, bold vision that we need in our downtown. This is one of the epicenter corners of our city, and it's been long overdue that something of this vision, this magnitude actually happens here. So I'm full support of this. The design world and the Warehouse District in particular are behind this, And we urge that you move great ideas like this forward and support it. If we're ever going to become a world-class city, we have to have some world-class vision and some developers that are really going to work hard. So thank you for this opportunity, and please support this.
Thank you for your testimony. Greta Rogers will be followed by Maria Madrid.
As a longtime citizen who has worked on neighborhood and housing projects at the request of the City of Phoenix for 25 years, I have followed development in this city for that length of time. This is a premier proposed development at one of the few sites left in the downtown area for this type of development that is mixed use. The land cost precludes this being appropriate for affordable or workforce housing. That in no way means that I have any less interest in this city working to develop more affordable and workforce housing, but not at the heart of the downtown where the land costs preclude it being a reasonable and or profitable venture. Nick made a very complete and thorough and well-researched and thought-out presentation on behalf of his client. And I urge you as a body to support the presentation and the application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Madrid, who will be followed by Brendan Walsh.
Hi, good afternoon. Hello, my name is Maria Madrid, and I am a proud union member with the Unite Here Local 11. I worked for over 11 years as a hotel housekeeper. Last year, I had to leave my apartment because the rent was raised too high. I had to go live with my daughter for 6 months. During that time, I was looking for a place to rent in downtown Phoenix, closer to my work. I was having to commute from my daughter's house at 81 Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road. I looked almost every day driving around town, looking online, and I couldn't find a affordable place. I found a place close to downtown that I thought would be perfect, but then I found out the rent would be $1,150, so I had to keep looking. Finally, I found a place at 29th Street in Oak for $154 a month plus the light and gas. But 2 months ago, I got a notice in the mail saying that at the end of my lease, the rent will increase to $1,150 for the same apartment. Now, I am back looking for another apartment. I would like to live in downtown, maybe even a central station, but if the apartments aren't affordable, I will have to commute again for my daughter's house or somewhere else. In Phoenix, we need affordable housing. I ask that you please think about all the working people in our city who are seeing our rents rise every year. You all can do something to help. Please support affordable housing and vote no in the Central Station proposal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brendan Walsh, followed by Dana Schneider.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. It's good to see you all. My name is Brendan Walsh. I'm the Executive Director of CASE, Central Arizonans for Sustainable Economy. and I'm asking you to vote no on this project. We have, as many of you know, a housing crisis in Phoenix right now and in Arizona. Since 2011, homelessness has grown by 50% in Arizona. At the same time, since 2014, the average rent in Phoenix has grown by almost as much. It went from $800 to $1,100, and in the downtown core, it's $1,600 a month. So it makes it really largely impossible for regular working people to live downtown, including, as you can see, there's about 500 or 600 hotel workers represented by Unite Here who live adjacent to this property. So I must say, I'm a little bit, watching the presentation, it seems like a beautiful development. I have a lot of respect for the developer who's proposing it and for Nick Wood, who made the presentation. But we're talking about luxury apartments. We're talking about a sort of boutique hotel. And we're talking about student housing, which again, that student housing is not for low-income people in Phoenix. It's going to be paid for by either out-of-town students who can afford to live there or by students who are mortgaging their future to be able to pay for that student housing. So there isn't any affordability here, and this project is being developed for wealthy people to come into this city and enjoy amenities that the rest of us cannot enjoy. So there is nothing about this project right now that is saying that this downtown is our downtown, that belongs to the people in downtown. It belongs to the wealthy with this project. Now again, I have nothing against the developer. I appreciate that they responded to the development, to the RFP that they were given. But I believe that the city and the city staff are they're not performing the duty that they need to make sure that this last parcel of city-owned land downtown is used in an appropriate fashion. I'll say one more thing about that. Mr. Wood said a lot about GIPLETs and whether you can, GIPLETs are a way to be able to create an incentive to give affordability. My understanding, and if I'm wrong, I'm willing to be corrected, but this land could not have been sold by law, which means it could not have gotten a GIPLET, which means the developer is not doing us any big favor by not asking for a GIPLET because he could never have asked for one. It's a 99-year lease because that's the only way to get the property, and anybody who is using the property would have to do that. So I would ask that we go back to the drawing board, we get a proposal that has more, that can do something about the affordable housing crisis in a moment and in an instant where the land is specifically city-owned land. If we can't do it here, we're not going to do it anywhere. And just one last thing, I appreciate your time, is that there are many people here who invested a lot of time and belief in you, in all of you. And we really respect the work that you can do, but those people are hurting. They're really hurting. And we are asking for you to really pay back the belief and faith and trust that we have in all of you by voting no for this project. Thank you very much. I do want to say, sorry, with the developer, I do respect the fact that you want to give 5% of the housing as workforce housing in the tower. I appreciate that. We just simply feel like it's not enough. Thank you very much.
Dana Schneider.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Dana Schneider. I am the organizing director for Unite Here Local 11, which is the Hospitality Workers Union. The City of Phoenix received 3 responsive proposals from 3 separate private developers hoping to bring about the redevelopment of Central Station. We believe that the project submitted by the Metastar Corporation is not the best financial deal for the city. This is a problem. We believe that it is critically important that the city get the best financial return on this project because, as has been repeatedly mentioned by city staff, the revenue that the Central Station project generates will help fund our city's transportation needs. It is a problem that the Metastar Corporation has agreed to pay only the minimum annual lease payment to the city. Another proposal was willing to pay over $185,000 more per year. Even with additional tax incentives taken into account, the city will end up missing out on over $32 million by choosing Metastar. Why would the city want to take a lower lease price for this project? Going with Metastar's bad financial deal means that our roads, our buses, our light rail, and our city's overall transportation infrastructure will lose out. We know how much working families in the city rely on buses and trains that run on time and roads that are well maintained. With no affordable housing in downtown today, and none being offered in this proposal either, working people are being priced out of downtown. Our members that work in the hotels and restaurants downtown have to commute in from neighborhoods in South Phoenix and Maryvale. So we ask you today, can you all, as city council members, really accept a deal that offers us all $32 million less for our transportation needs? We don't think that you should. We ask respectfully that you vote no on the Central Station proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. We have an additional 5 cards marked in favor of the proposal, and we have an additional 18 cards marked opposed to the proposal. Do we have any council member questions? Councilwoman Pastor.
I have several. Chris, I just heard someone speak about the 3 proposals. And I was hoping that you had a slide demonstrating the 3 proposals and the differences. My understanding is the 2 second and third proposal asked for a GIPLET, and that we were losing more money. Can you please explain that?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, absolutely, I'll walk you through that. So if we look at the base rental rate over a 99-year period, that the base rental rate that they were offering, Metastar's, of course, is at $171 million. Ryan, which was proposer number 2, is at $122 million. And Aspirant Development, which was proposal 3, is at $203 million. So at first blush, you say, gosh, that's $32 million more than the recommended proposer is requesting. What, as the panel completed and staff completed, the third proposer was asking for significant financial incentives that would reduce the amount of lease rate that they were offering on the land. So first of all, they were asking for a GIPLET, and as you heard today, that's valued around $20 million, $25 million. The next thing they were asking for, and it states it specifically in the proposal, they were asking on a rebate of future sales tax from construction sales tax and any other sales taxes paid on the project, and it uses the word specifically to offset the significant land lease rates on the project. Finally, it asks for the city to complete all off-site, their percentage of all off-site public infrastructure, and it asks the city to pay for any utilities to get under light rail. As we completed that analysis, those incentives would have been a direct hit to the $203 million revenue of $45 million. So in the analysis, that would mean that Metastar is actually paying $15 million more than the proposer that's proposing $203 million.
Okay. My other question is regarding student housing and boutique hotel. What does that mean?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, on the student housing, at this time, Metastar does not have an affiliation with any one of the universities. They are looking at the opportunity for the overflow that we see of significant need for student housing in downtown. As we've talked to them, as they move forward with this project, there is not a limitation that we understand today. ABOR, Arizona Board of Regents, has not given us a limitation to say that it has to be specific only to students. We do understand that there is a significant demand today from our students for housing in there, and what they're proposing is it's a common living space with a living room and a kitchen, and then depending on the unit, there would be 1, 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms that would be associated with that common living space. So very conducive for student housing. As we chatted about opportunities, the developer, as this moves forward, is very willing to look at if student housing isn't as in demand as they think it is, and if the Board of Regents or others that may in the future be associated with this project, could that be additional, for young workforce to work in there. That was something they looked at, but right now they see a significant demand for student housing, whether it's community college, whether it's ASU, University of Arizona, Northern Arizona University, or any of those students that go to school down here. On the boutique hotel, it's kind of a reference, much like we would reference to a Class A office space. So it's a hotel that has amenities on site. They tend to be geared more towards kind of a unique traveler who's looking for an experience where the restaurants are on site. You would have meeting space on site. You would have business space on site. But there might be something kind of funky about the hotel that a traditional, that you wouldn't see in a traditional Holiday Inn or in a traditional Sheraton or one of the other brands. So something funky might be about the hotel.
Do we know who they're engaging in possibly doing the hotel?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, we do know it's Intercontinental Hotels, and they do have several boutique brands that are under their flag. They have not identified which brand that is yet.
Okay. And then there was one other area that I was looking at. Diane Barker mentioned something, and so I'm not sure what that conversation was, and she mentioned about the arena and land, possibly behind the arena to build a transit center. Can you elaborate?
Councilwoman Pastor, I apologize. I do remember speaking with Ms. Barker during our arena community meetings. I don't remember having a conversation about transit on the site, so I apologize. Doesn't mean I didn't, but at any given time there were several people that were talking with us at that time about where her thoughts on that could be, but we could definitely ask her, and I would defer to her as to what that conversation was. I apologize that I don't remember it.
But I guess where she was going with it is the possibility of moving the transit site from Central and Van Buren and moving it back to where originally, I would say, where the Greyhound used to be, or I can't remember, it's where Fry's is now, where the transit center used to be back in the day. Is it possible, and do we have the funding to move it?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, the area of expertise is sitting next to me with Jesus Sapien, our director, who can answer any of those questions for you.
Mayor, members of the council, I will tell you that that is not currently our plan. The idea behind having Central Station directly across from public transit headquarters is to have that connectivity between city staff that works at our building as well as MAG staff and the amenities that are found at Central Station. Right now, the relocation of Central Station is not in our plan. We have not discussed that or anticipated it. The other thing that we have been talking throughout this project is to maintain the connectivity, the flow of between all the different downtown amenities at this particular site. As you know, we have a significant amount of students that ride light rail, and I can look out my office window every day, and every time those light rail doors open, approximately 100 to 200 students are getting out, and we're literally walking across the street. So I would see it as a benefit to leaving the Central Station operations where they are today, and as requested by our Citizens Transit Commission during this process, to incorporate the transit functions into this site.
Okay. Those are all my questions.
Councilwoman Mendoza.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you define student housing and affordable housing as far as the cost goes?
Mayor, Councilwoman Mendoza, each of the items are different, and Cindy Stotler, as our housing director, would be able to provide that guidance, and she'll speak up if I misstate what I've heard. So if we look at student housing at these units, we've not heard from them directly as to what they will be charging on the site, a firm number, since the project won't be built and operational for several years. But traditionally, on a monthly basis, you're going to see anywhere from, on a student housing, $700 to $900 a month. on the student housing for anything that you're looking at those type of rooms. If we look at our affordable housing, our housing director, Cindy Stotler, works where we talk about workforce housing being in the area of 80 to 120% of the area median income. You see our housing department working what they consider the very poor, which is 40% of the area median income. And so those are significantly different, and I think they vary depending on each of the units.
So bottom line, we don't have a cost for it, right, for student housing? We don't know how much students will pay?
Mayor, Councilwoman Mendoza, we know, as we've looked at what other projects in the area have done, and those are between $700 and $900 a unit on a monthly basis. And that includes their utilities, their power, their air conditioning, their water, their sewer.
Did you mention something about people being able to rent the student housing if they're not students or something like that? I don't remember if you...
Mayor, Councilwoman Mendoza, absolutely. As we visited with the developer and talked about the student housing and what they anticipated at the student housing, as you know, some of our workforce here in downtown and other areas, they enjoy a really social living environment where they might enjoy, you might have young teachers, you might have our young workforce that might like to live in a more social living environment. So we did chat with the developer about what they thought about the student housing. Was that something that as we move forward in the future, they might consider renting some of those units to some of our young workforce where they could live in a more social, you have a bedroom, and then you share your living room and kitchen with 2 or 3 or 4 other people. And they indicated that it's something as they move forward, depending on their leasing up of their student housing, it's something that they would love to keep in their pocket and work with staff as an opportunity in the future should that present itself.
So if you're young and want to socialize, then that would work for you. But if you're some of the working families that work in downtown, that wouldn't work for me. So probably for my girls, but not for me. And I probably wouldn't be able to afford the other ones. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for our housing director.
I have one.
All right, Councilman Nowakowski.
So we talked about student housing, so you have about 3 rooms or up to 4 rooms, and you share the same living room and kitchen and all that. So what you really do is you're looking at a unit that's, you times it by 3 or 4, really. On the low end, if it's 3 people and there's, and they're paying $700, that's $2,100 a month for that one unit. So if you look at 4 people sharing that room, and that's $2,700 a month for rent. And then if you go up to 4 people or 4 rooms in that unit, that would probably be on the low end. You're looking at about $2,800 a month, and on the high end, it would be about $3,600 a month if it's $900 per bed. So it's a little different between affordable housing and student housing. I think student housing is by bed. That's the cost. And then and when we talk about affordable housing, Cindy, is it about the units, right? Which includes the living room, kitchen, and living space, right?
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, affordable housing is usually a unit price, a rent for the entire unit per household.
Okay. So we're not talking, student housing is, to your best interpretation, would be more shared living, right?
Yes, today's student housing is designed for shared living, and each student is charged a monthly rent per student for their portion of that housing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So we are on item 64, but we've actually already done a fair amount of housing business in today's meeting. We've moved forward on thousands of units, including hundreds of affordable and workforce units in our downtown. So Cindy Stotler, our housing director, could you tell us a little bit about what we've already done so far today?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Earlier today, on item 53 was the redevelopment of Deck Park Vista that you approved. That is, I think, significant to this project. That is a 56-unit affordable housing property owned by the Housing Department at 3rd Street in Moreland in the heart of Roosevelt Row. It has downtown code zoning with Evans Churchill character area, which gives it allows 250 feet in height and up to 218 dwellings per acre. So we could take what we're going to do with this proposal that you approved was take these 56 units and convert them into 436 units of new affordable and workforce housing. So that redevelopment will provide affordable and workforce housing right here in the downtown in Roosevelt Row. Some of the other properties that you approved today were affordable housing properties. I think there were 6 of them approved today, also providing rental units at affordable housing and also home ownership, 40 units of home ownership for low-income residents of Phoenix. In addition to that, very nearby downtown, we talk about affordable housing. The Housing Department is implementing the Choice Neighborhoods Grant at 16th Street, in the area of 16th Street in Van Buren, where we're building about 1,011 new units of affordable mixed income housing, very near downtown and right on the light rail for downtown. Additionally, up in District 4 at Central and Columbus, with Councilwoman Pastor's direction, we are working with the Community and Economic Development Department to issue an RFP on property there for an affordable workforce and market rate demonstration program that will provide another several hundred units of affordable housing. And last, we are looking at other properties that the City Housing Department owns in the downtown on the west side of Central, looking for the same opportunities that we have with Deck Park. Understanding that there's a dire need for affordable housing and workforce housing in the downtown for those that want to live and work in the downtown.
Wonderful, thank you. You have been very busy, and it's exciting. So for Sandy and others who spoke so eloquently, there could be multiple options coming forward.
Mayor, may I ask Cindy a question?
Please.
So with all those new projects coming into the downtown area, do you still think we have a need for affordable housing in the downtown area?
Mayor and members of the subcommittee, or members of the council, Councilman Nowakowski, yes, I think we do have a need for affordable and workforce, very specifically workforce. There are many folks that work in the downtown area that don't make enough money to pay the high rents that are asked for now. You know, heard about the property values and the cost of high-rise building. It's driving the rents up, so there are very high-end market rate rents. And you know, we need to offer other housing options in and around the downtown, so folks we need a mix of people in the downtown and mix of people living in the downtown for a good diversity of folks. So yes, I think we need lots more affordable and workforce housing, and I'm doing everything I can with the city land that we own to make that happen.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Pastor?
I was just going to make a motion.
All right.
Okay. Well, Cindy, I'd like to thank you for that report on the affordable and workforce housing. As many know, I have been an advocate for affordability and workforce housing and have been able to, along with all my colleagues at the table, being able to put now policy regarding affordability and workforce housing of 10%. Unfortunately, this RFP was way before we moved that item. The good news is that Councilman Nowakowski asked a subcommittee for workforce housing, and then I met with Unite Here, and they asked for workforce housing, so I gave a directive to Chris and said, Chris, can you go back and find out if we can have workforce housing? And so the good news is that there is workforce housing part of this project. So I move to approve the project with the addition of a stipulation that requires workforce housing units at 80 to 120% of the area median income for a period of 10 years, which is 5% of workforce housing. So that is my motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Mayor.
Please.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I have questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought you were going to open up to the council discussion part. But so just as a question to Chris, if I could, you had mentioned that the tax break on the land is about $22 million. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilman DeCiccio, they will not pay property tax on the land since it remains in city ownership.
So I got it, but you didn't answer my question, Chris. I love you, but you got to answer mine directly. Sorry.
No, they will not pay property tax on the land itself, but all improvements on the site.
Right. No, I understand, but
sorry, I
what's that
misunderstood.
number?
I absolutely so
Oh,
sorry
it's okay.
about that.
It's okay.
So what we did,
It's okay.
Councilman, was we looked at a site that was immediately adjacent, that is an identical vacant site. They currently pay $93,000 a year on that vacant land site. So over the 99 years, increasing it the same way that we increase building values in here, it's $21.8 million over 99 years.
And the comp was comparable to this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Size-wise, everything?
Yes, sir.
So, and the GIPLET would have been a cost of $25 million, correct?
Mayor, Councilman DeCiccio, that's correct. We estimated about there.
Okay. And then the $22 million, is that just to the City of Phoenix tax, or would that have been all inclusive taxes?
Mayor, Councilman DeCiccio, on the property taxes that we've represented, both for the built environment and the land, that was all taxing jurisdictions.
So all jurisdictions would be covered in the $22 million. There's no carve out just for the City of Phoenix, correct?
No, sir, that was all taxing jurisdictions.
So the tax is roughly the same as the GIPLET, roughly the same. So without calling it a GIPLET, it's roughly the same amount. And here is my position on this. I mean, you know how I feel about this. I think you do an outstanding job, Chris. I've told you that before. I appreciate the fact that you're bringing these projects to the City of Phoenix. You've always worked hard on them. Nick Wood is amazing. Did another amazing presentation here, but I have issues whenever we do these tax giveaways, call them corporate welfare, call them whatever you want. The bottom line is we're still losing $22 million in revenue. Now, you can talk about every other project that's occurred. It really doesn't matter because we're talking about this project on this vote and what it is. It's one of those fair times that I think you extract, or you can, as government, and I don't like it because it creates an uneven policy. You can extract $22 million worth of housing, so you can value the housing and you can say, hey, it's worth X amount. I don't know with this proposal if it's $22 million or not. But at the end of the day, it's still a giveaway of tax, whether we call it or not. The other part of it is, if you take a look at this, every time we do these types of things, we have a robust market in the economy. Robust. We don't have to be doing any of this stuff anymore at all, whether it's in the downtown area or anywhere in the City of Phoenix. You would have a much stronger argument on anything, on any tax incentive, if it was a bad economy. It's not. So as you incentivize these properties, whether it's this one that we own or the other ones that we've done on these, I call them corporate welfare because that's what they are. When you do those types of things, you hyperinflate the project, is what you do. The monies that come in from the City of Phoenix that they would have normally have had to pay increases the value of the land. By increasing the value of land, you increase the cost of whatever those units are. That's just the fact. So it creates an uneven policy across the board. So I'm going to be voting no on this. I really respect Nick Wood, and he's done an amazing job at the city. Every time he comes in, always brings in a classy project, and I believe he's done that here. I respect Chris Mackey, all the work that she's done on this, but we've really got to wean our way off of all these tax policies, and there's another $22 million sitting on the table. And so I'm going to be voting no, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other additional? All right, we'll continue with the roll call.
Guevara.
I want to thank Chris Mackey for your amazing work on this project. I know you've worked diligently on this over the last couple of weeks. I know that housing is a big priority for a lot of my colleagues on the council, and I could not have supported this project moving forward if it didn't include housing options for working people To those who have recently raised concerns about affordable housing, if you're interested in continuing to advocate for more workforce and affordable housing in Phoenix, please reach out to my office and let's work on this together. And with that, I'm a yes. Thank you.
Mendoza?
I appreciate the 10 units, but I believe we need more workforce housing in downtown area, and I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Nowakowski?
I'd like to explain my reasoning. I represent this downtown area, and it's just amazing over the 11 years representing this area, the growth. And the growth comes expensive apartments. And we've priced out many of the workers that work in the downtown area. And the only way that we as a city can really help with incentives with low income or workforce housing is by giving them an incentive with the property that we own. Downtown property is very expensive. We are limited right now with the properties that we do own. I know our housing director is doing everything possible with the little bit that we do have to either build up and try to increase the affordability affordable housing that we own ourselves. So being that strong advocate for affordable housing, I really want to thank Nick for including the affordable housing, and Mr. Rana, I hope I pronounced your name right. I want to thank you for an amazing project in downtown Phoenix, but at the same time, I'm going to vote no on it for the reason of affordability and the lack of workforce housing in the downtown Phoenix. No.
Pastor?
So I really appreciate everybody's effort in this project. I have probably, not just me, but many at this dais have been working on this particular project for, I want to say, 3 years, 4 years. And all the comments that were given to me, or all the questions that were given to me, have been answered. The final ask to me was to provide some workforce housing. And I can at least say and thank the developer for understanding why we need workforce housing. And I delivered in the ask. The other dynamic is I really appreciate this letter and that I got or received on Monday. And fortunately, we were able to do the workforce housing. So I will be responding back to all the members that have signed here because I appreciate all the work that is done on the ground and appreciate what is Unite here doing in the sense of pushing for workforce and affordability and the conversation that is forward. 2 years ago, I can tell you when I spoke about workforce housing and affordability, that conversation was not happening. So I am glad 2 years currently in front of me that it is happening and that it is moving and that it is part of our policy. So with that, I vote yes.
Stark?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes, I want to congratulate Chris and you and your staff for bringing such a quality project to downtown. I know you put a lot of time and effort into it, and Jesus, you too. So thank you very much. Yes.
Waring? No. Gallego?
I'll be voting yes. Congratulations to the folks who moved this forward. I'm very excited about what this means for our urban community. This will be a great project for transit users. It'll be a wonderful place to live for people who choose to commute by transit, and will really help us have that more urban feel. We're hearing particularly from older adults and young people, they don't necessarily want to be tied to a car, and this will give them options. In addition, many of our students have limited budgets, and they'll be able to live in a great transit-friendly location. So I'm very excited about what this says about our downtown, and I vote aye. 5-4 passes.
Oh.
Item 66.
Move item 66.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do any council members have comments or questions on item 66? Amstar McKinley. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring. Gallego.
Yes. The item passes 8-1. And we'll pause for a moment to give people a second to leave the room.
Perfect. We have to go to the bathroom. You need a second?
All right, we will now move to item number 70 related to public records.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any council member questions or comments? Do you mind staying for a quick moment for roll call, or? We're going to pause before roll call. 2. Okay. All right, we'll try roll call.
DeCiccio. Item number 70, DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara. Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski. Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring. Gallego.
Yes. So the item passes 7-1. So a good step forward for making sure we can meet public records requests in a timely way and provide good customer service. Item number 74 is next.
Mayor, I'd like to make it about this.
Please.
This is one of the memos that I signed that I learned when we were dealing with the Camelback Light Rail project, that people in Maryville were very upset by the fact that they thought we had canceled any light rail going in their direction. And I just feel very strongly that we want to be very careful that we don't repeat the performance we did, or lack of performance, on South Central. And what I envision happening is staff to come up with a tentative schedule that starts the public hearing process. I think it is extremely important that we engage people very early to talk about the alignment, the impact it can have, the positive and the negative, and get people involved from the get-go. And I think that's going to take numerous meetings. I envision them saying, here's where it's going to stop, here's where we want to end up, and how do we get there, and engage people. And I'd like to see the schedule come back to us by the May date, and I would like to hopefully see a public hearing scheduled in early May. So I'm very supportive of this, and I would move approval.
And you said a public hearing scheduled to come out in early May?
Yes.
Okay. Could you repeat your motion?
Oh, you're going to make it difficult, aren't you? I'm not sure exactly what I said, but I really want to move this forward, have them make a tentative schedule that we begin the public process in May, knowing that will probably take a year to 18 months at least to have numerous public hearings and identify a route. At that point, if it's still feasible, I would anticipate then it would come back to the council for reevaluation for future funding.
And this would be a public process for rail investments on the west side of Phoenix?
Absolutely. That's for the Maryville line that was designed to go, I think it, if I recall, Mario, it was going down I-10, but I'm not sure that's still feasible anymore since they're widening I-10, and I don't know if that's the best use. So the public hearings would identify that.
Mayor and Councilwoman Williams, yes, I believe the request was to look at the I-10 West alignment light rail extension. And so it sounds like your motion would take another look at the alignment itself, the alignment for the light rail itself, and looking at different options of how that can be phased and how that can, maybe even looking at possibility of different modes or different types of service, taking a fresh look at the I-10 West alignment. If I'm understanding your motion correctly.
You are understanding it correct. I think it's extremely important that we provide the service to Maryville. It's an area we have promised. I believe we have a parking right at what, 77th, 75th?
79th Avenue.
And we know where it's going to stop down here at the Capitol, approximately. How we get from there to there is what I think the public really needs to be engaged in the conversation. That we make this a very public process, that they understand what's being planned, time-wise, cost, etc. And I don't want us to have another fiasco like we had with South Central.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilwoman Good.
This doesn't include bringing it back to the May meeting, right? You're asking that there be sufficient time, however long it takes for the public process to...
What I'm asking for in May is a tentative schedule on how they start and proceed.
You know. And it go before the CTC and including all of that?
The entire process, it would go to the Transportation Subcommittee, CTC, as well as the public as it goes along.
Okay. And this is for the I-10, or is this also for a view of the west side?
Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
To be determined by public input.
Okay.
Councilman Nowakowski.
So, Mayor, one of the things is that it's been in the plan, the I-10 and the downtown to the state capitol following the I-10. If you notice that the I-10 is like a parking lot from 3 o'clock till about 6 o'clock in the evening. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that we have some type of a reliever, and we'd like to see if it's possible to keep in consideration that route, but at the same time, let's make sure that we have input from the community and that the community is very well informed on what our plans are. I think we moved it from the middle of the freeway to the side of the freeway where there's a canal, so it saves us actually some revenue. And that if the 79th Avenue park and ride is appropriate to end there, or to actually end to the Desert Sky Mall where the transit center that we just built 3 years ago. So if we can just make sure, and if there's a possibility to move it up in its scheduled date, that would be great too.
Thank you. We have 3 cards on this item. We will, let's see, first take Diane Barker and then David Schwartz and close out with Michael Kelly. Is Diane still with us? David Schwartz with Friends of Transit.
Good afternoon, Mayor, member of council. My name is David Schwartz. I have the honor and the privilege to serve as the Executive Director for Friends of Transit. We are an organization whose mission is to educate the community about the benefits of mass transit as part of a balanced regional transportation plan. We care about all modes of transportation, not just one mode, or one particular line of a mode, whether we look at a whole system working together. Candidly, if you had truth serum, we'd love to see you speed up every line that you have planned. But we know that budgets are limited, the voters have spoken, and there are processes in place. My caution to you is moving this up, this one segment, while that may be a good thing, is I want to be careful that it doesn't impact the entire system because, again, budgets are set. and processes are set. So lastly, because they are all, like I said, because they're all interconnected. Lastly, just as a reminder, the entire light rail system in Phoenix has actually been approved by the voters 3 times over the last 19, almost 20 years. And so I just remind you that the voters have spoken, and so let's be cautious as you do. Again, not saying don't do it, it's just make sure it is all in conjunction. Thank you very much.
Do you have yes, Councilwoman.
No, I just, some clarification. I just want to make sure that what we're voting on includes that we conduct an update to the transportation study for I-10 West to include reviewing other transit modes or a commuter transit solution, fully examine funding for all potential options, complete an earnest and complete public process, which it sounds like that the West Phoenix community deserves, and engage other West Valley cities on developing a regional approach.
That could all be done as part of.
Okay, I just want to make that
the
clear.
system, of what we're setting up to happen to your
Okay.
process.
Okay.
But I didn't specifically include it in the motion. I don't think it's necessary at this time.
You guys need clarity?
You need,
Because I'm worried that staff will come back and say, we don't have any clarity, this is what was voted on. So,
is that what you're going to say?
well,
Speak up now, because we can make it very clear.
We understand what the intent is, and if it's possible to include that in the motion so that the direction's there, I think that would certainly assist
Okay,
moving
we
forward.
can include that, add that too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I appreciate, we've heard from neighboring cities who especially are fellow light rail operators that they would love to be part of that dialogue. So thank you for considering regionalism and for making sure we have a robust dialogue with the community. And thank you for waiting, Mr. Michael Kelly.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and distinguished City Council members. My name is Michael Kelly, and my wife and I have lived in South Phoenix for 34 years, and I've been an active volunteer in support of an improved transit system since 1989 with the Valtrans initiative. Now, most of my neighbors and residents of South Phoenix are very supportive of the South Central Light Rail extension that just received the go-ahead from the federal government for engineering. We are excited to have this project move forward. A few months ago, there were some people that spoke in opposition. And if I had to summarize what I believe were the reasons for the opposition, it would be largely due to a lack of information and or their feeling that the process had been rushed. As I understand it, you are now trying to drastically speed up the process of the I-10 West, which candidly is a worthy project too, but I worry about the fact that some of your efforts to rush this project are setting up the residents of that community with many of the same challenges that we faced with the South Central initiative. So while I live in South Phoenix and I fight for transit in South Phoenix, I also care about all of Phoenix and all of transit, and my humble recommendation is that you proceed with caution. Thank you.
Thank you. These are complicated decisions, and certainly our rail system is heavily linked with other modes of transit. So I think that the timetable the councilwomen have proposed, I hope will give our professional staff time to really work with engineers and make sure we understand implications. Our funding streams are, to a certain extent, interrelated and dependent on each other, and the engineering also, when we move in one area, has impacts on the other. So we feel we have the chance to do an appropriate analysis.
Mayor, yes, I would say under that timetable, that does give us adequate time to do the analysis that's being requested, as well as laying out a public input process that can be robust enough to incorporate the public input from that community. Since we're talking about clarity, I would just ask the question of, do we also intend that this would go through the Citizens Transportation Commission as well as the Aviation and Transportation Subcommittee before coming to council as part of the vetting process?
And Councilwoman Williams did specifically say that.
Great.
We had so many stakeholders involved in preparing the Transportation 2050 plan when it went out to the community. And I think it's wonderful that we're going to keep that level of engagement and have a transparent process. And I want to thank the council members who are fighting to make sure the West Side gets its fair share of infrastructure investments. I think Councilwoman Mendoza had questions or comments.
Mayor, how much money did we spend on this light rail extension before it was delayed?
Mayor and Councilwoman Mendoza, this project goes back several years since when it's initially planned, and so with all of the studies that have been completed to date, it's been about a total cumulatively of about $8 million.
How far was this light rail in the process? How far was it?
An alternatives analysis had been completed. And it was moving forward, not completed with an environmental analysis, but it was about at that stage between an alternatives analysis and potentially with an environmental analysis being completed.
Why was it delayed?
The project was delayed in January of 2016, which was right after Proposition 104 had been approved. At that time, one of the main reasons it was delayed, it had actually, prior to that date, been a single project going out to the Capitol and then all the way out to 79th Avenue. And at that point, it was divided into two phases so that the project out to the Capitol kept the date of 2023, but the second phase was moved out to 2030. And that's the phase going out from the Capitol to 79th Avenue. One of the reasons was the competitiveness for federal transit administration dollars, and looking at that as one large project was going to be less competitive at the federal level. The other reason was that the council was interested in moving up projects for the Northwest and the South Central extensions, and it allowed that to happen at that time as well. South Central was moved up from 2034 to 2023. And the Northwest extension was moved up from 2026 to 2023.
Okay, so other extensions were moved up, and this was delayed. Did we ever go to the community to let them know about this delayed? When
Councilman
council
Mendoza,
approved the delay?
at that point, there was not a community input process.
There was no community input.
For the delay at that point.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. And Mr. Schwartz said something about the impact to the entire system, and you are right. There was an impact to the entire system and to the community at Maryville that was promised a light rail, and it was delayed with no community input, with $8.5 million already been spent. So my priority is the I-10 West light rail extension. Like Councilman Nowakowski said, you drive down I-10 and it's a parking lot at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that community was really upset. And I had to go and meet with them when that was delayed. And I didn't have answers for them. So I know they want it, they still want it. It's needed. And if you want a light rail system that actually moves people, that would be perfect. So thank you.
Mayor, if I may just correct one thing I said, just so it's on the record. Marcus Coleman, our light rail administrator, let me know that the project actually had an environmental analysis complete. I said it hadn't been to that stage, but it actually had the environmental analysis done previously. So I correct my prior statement on that.
Wonderful, thank you. An exciting opportunity to make sure we're investing in light rail in all areas of our city. Without
Mayor?
any, Councilman DeCiccio.
Just a quick question. So all you're doing here is studying whether or not you can expedite it. It doesn't guarantee it's going to occur, correct? That's what you're doing the public hearings for and all that.
Councilman DeCiccio.
That's yes or no?
Yes, at this point, it's going and studying and talking to the public about the potential options and bringing that back to council in the future.
So not just a yes or no, but an analysis of the connectivity and how decisions impact others.
Because we have an initiative that's going to be going forward August 27th. This wouldn't have any impact on that because you couldn't start construction fast enough. So, okay, I'm going to be a no, Mayor, but I understand it. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. We ready for a roll call? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
No.
Gallego.
Yes. Yes. 7-2 passes. Exciting options for continued investment in light rail and our west side. We now move to item 75, the North-South Transit Facilities Fixed Route Services.
Move to approve.
Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Nowakowski, did you have any questions or comments?
Mayor, I'm sorry. I do.
Councilman DeCiccio.
Come on.
Hey, thank you. Hey, one of the things I like to do, this is a very huge contract. And I'd love, and I know we're going to be looking for a large contractor. What I'd like us to do when we take a look at the RFP, I mean, we've always had an emphasis on the small business owner, the opportunities given to the small business people. I want to make sure that we take a look at that when we do the RFP. I know you can't guarantee it. I understand all that. But at least from my end, I want to see what kind of community engagement we have with small business owners in any RFP that we're going to be doing. Something this large, we took an issue up, and something that Greg Stanton did, and I appreciate that he did. He said any contract at a certain level would be looked at with the small business owner. Likewise, in an RFP this large, I'd like to make sure that we do that, in this in this RFP.
Thank you, Councilman Nowakowski.
And that would also, I'm sorry, and that would also include, looking at nonprofits, community groups, even, members of the homeless community. Just look at what we can do on contracts that are this large. I mean, take a broader perspective and see how we can incorporate some of these nonprofits as well, Mayor. And I'm done. Thank you. I'm going to be voting yes.
Thank you. And we've had some great luck with our workforce initiatives and other initiatives as part of this. Did staff have any comments on that?
Mayor, members of the council, what I will say is, yes, this RFP will be done in accordance with all of the city's administrative regulations that have to do with procurements, which include small business enterprise efforts. What I will mention is this is a service contract, so we estimate between 70 to 80% of the contract is manpower, basically the operators behind the wheel. That is the vast, vast majority of the value of this contract. So that's not only the drivers, but also the individuals who clean and fuel the vehicles. So recognizing that the majority of this, the cost of this contract is labor, absolutely, to Councilman DeCiccio's point, we will see what opportunities they are for such incorporation of those organizations.
Wonderful. And we've had great success with our My Brother's Keeper initiative.
We have,
and,
yes.
and others in this Councilman DeCiccio, and then Councilman Nowakowski.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, you can do that with those service contracts as well. You know what I mean? Granted, yes, it's a big chunk for labor, but a lot of those are going to be contracted out as well. So I just like to see a broader perspective. I like to see an emphasis with the small business owner. They always get left out. And I want to just make sure that we don't forget about those guys.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Nowakowski.
I think we have a fine example of our airport. I mean, I know that when I first started, we were pushing really a lot about local businesses, local restaurants, and making sure that those companies that were granted those RFPs, that they would include that. And also we looked at their service for the community, helping out the nonprofits and especially right now with the homeless situation and stuff. So if you can look in their backgrounds and make sure that they're a part of the community and they can form what I call that Team Phoenix approach, helping out beyond their contract and representing the city of Phoenix outside of the city.
Mayor, Councilman Nowakowski, absolutely, that is part of the information that any proposers will have to submit as part of their proposal in order to be considered a valid proposal. So absolutely, we will make sure we look at that.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councilman Waring.
Vice Mayor. This is, thank you, this is not light rail, this is buses.
Right.
Period.
Correct.
Thank you. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski. Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Item 77, an FTA grant for the Gilbert Road extension. Do we have a motion? I move approval. We have a second from Councilwoman Williams. Any councilmember questions or comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
I'm just reading it really quick. I'm gonna pass. Can you move me
Come
to
back
the
to
end?
him.
Yeah.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Williams.
Yes.
Waring. Gallego.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Passes 8-1. Item number 106, which is an item in Councilwoman Pastor's district. Can we have a staff report?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Item 106 is a public hearing for a rezoning request at the southeast corner of Central Avenue in Indianola. In this case, the existing zoning is C2 TOD1 and C3 TOD1 to walkable urban code T56 to allow for multifamily residential development. I do have a PowerPoint if the council wants me to go through it, but in general, this case was not appealed to the City Council to force a public hearing. The applicant requested withdrawal at the April 3rd meeting and re-advertising for a public hearing to make a slight change to a couple stipulations, one of which is a historic preservation stipulation that they met, and the other one is to modify the general conformance stipulation because of an APS need for a larger area for transformer on the site. So it was not appealed, and there's no opposition to this case. Staff does recommend approval per the memo from April 15th and adoption of the related ordinance. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
We will open a public hearing. We have no cards for the public hearing. We will close the public hearing. Councilwoman Pastor, do you have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
And per the memo dated April 15?
Oh, everything that Ellen
Right.
said.
And adopt the related
And
ordinance.
adopted related ordinance.
Beautifully spoken. Any councilmember questions? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski. Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring. Gallego.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Item 107 is a development case in District 1. May we have a staff report?
Mayor and members of council, this one is a rezoning request at the northwest corner of 41st Drive and Fortune Drive up in the Anthem part of the city. The existing zoning is C2 and Commerce Park, General Commerce Park and C2 PCD because it is part of the Anthem Planned Community District. The request is to allow a height waiver within that same C2 zoning and the PCD for approximately 3-acre site. The height waiver will go up to 40 feet for a proposed hotel. The aerial shows the subject site here in green. As outlined, here's Anthem Way, here's I-17 for reference. This shows the surrounding zoning, which is a mix of C2 and Commerce Park. This particular area, when this portion of Anthem came in, it was given either C2 or Commerce Park, General Commerce Park zoning designation. And so you have in this area a mix of property owners who have selected more of the C2 shown here in red, and then the Commerce Park, General Commerce Park area here in the grayish white color for your more typical low-scale, warehouse and distribution type facilities that are also principally small businesses. This is the proposed site plan, and these are the proposed elevations for the hotel. The request was approved by the Rio Vista Village Planning Committee by a 7-0 vote and approved by the Planning Commission by a 4-1 vote. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead and open the public hearing. Any council member questions? We have a card from the applicant, if you would please come down to testify.
Mayor, members of the council, thanks for having me. My name is Tim Rutchess, and I'm the applicant for SRK Development. And mostly I just wanted to come up if any of you had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise.
Perfect. Why don't we then, we have a card marked opposed, and maybe we'll hear from that person, and if you wanted to come back and address that, if that works for Councilwoman Williams. Stephen Edling, marked opposed.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm not real good at this public speaking thing, so bear with me. My name's Steve Edling. I'm a business owner in Anthem. My business is at 4125 West Fortune Drive, right across the street from this location. I'm here today opposed to this height waiver. Many of our local businessmen, business people have endured during this last great recession that we've had. And collectively, we've done so under the existing CC&Rs and the existing zone codes that exist. The height variance being asked for today is uncharacteristic of this area. We've all survived and operated our businesses with the rules, and this request is out of nature and would be a terrible precedent for this area. We have large corporations like Dunn Edwards, U-Haul, to name a few. We have small local business people, restaurants, automotive, plumbing, cabinetry, like my business. We would all like to have had more height when we build our buildings. We could have gotten more use out of our properties. But the area was set aside to be a maximum height of 30 feet. This request was handled poorly. There was only one community meeting, which I was the only person represented there. We've had no outreach to the adjacent property owners about this or the proposed change of height. Letters that we sent and questions that we asked were ignored or never addressed. Each of our parcels today enjoy the 30-foot maximum two-story, and the request before you today is inconsiderate of those of us who have worked and maintained our businesses and built our businesses with that two-story limitation. I ask you to please deny the request today and keep the building height at the existing 30 feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one additional card marked opposed. Tim, would you like to provide any additional testimony? You want to wait for council member? Okay, we'll wait for if any council member questions.
Yeah, I mean, I can address just, okay.
If you don't have anything,
I mean, I'd like to address some of the inaccuracies in the, I guess, the gentleman's testimony, if I could.
I think you have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, so first of all, we did provide proper notice per all of the codes and regulations. We went through all the steps, we went through all the meetings, we provided all the notifications that were required. I will say that the height restriction is not actually, it's not actually in the CC&Rs. The design guidelines for the Anthem commercial district do actually allow for a building height of up to 3 stories. It's actually the City of Phoenix overlay that has a less of a requirement. So we're just seeking to conform to Anthem's commercial design guidelines.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
With that, we will close the public hearing and turn it over to Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you. I was a little slow about learning about this case coming forth. I guess I was busy doing something else at the time, but I have since been in contact with the public, with the neighbors in that area. In fact, I was out there yesterday afternoon meeting with some of the people that live there, as well as the people in Anthem. And although they do not object to a hotel, they are pretty solid in holding to the 2-story limit. So therefore, I'm making the motion to deny the request to allow the height waiver for 40 feet.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio?
Mayor, really quick.
Please. I'm sorry, what?
I'm going to support the councilman. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm going to support the councilwoman in their district on this. One of the other issues that you really got to take a look at is when we deal with CCNRs, I realize fully that we don't recognize private agreements. But it's also part of the outreach program that you have to have. If you can't even get your CCNR changed before you come to council, and this is the message, not just these individuals, but everybody else we work with, you've really got to do that first. Otherwise, you waste a lot of time, energy, effort, everything. You know, it's no different than doing neighborhood outreach. That's the same thing. So anyone who's looking to change things, and there's always going to be a dispute on CCNRs, you've got to get that cleared up before you come to us. Otherwise, it becomes a waste of energy and effort. I'm going to be supporting the councilwoman on her motion, limiting it to the 2 stories. Yes.
We'll continue with roll call.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Yes.
Stark?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Waring? Gallego?
Yes. The motion passes unanimously. We next move to item number 108, a citizen petition related to homelessness and personal property. We'll welcome Elizabeth, who delivered the petition, to the podium. Elizabeth Venable? Okay.
Elizabeth Venable, 1950 East Cortez Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85020, born and raised in Phoenix. What I'm here to say is similar to petitions I presented before on the Martin v. Boise case to come out of the Ninth Circuit Board of Appeals, which says it is cruel and unusual punishment to criminalize camping and sleeping. We know that you are still arresting people for trespass, for camping and sleeping, and the rules are not clarified for these individuals, so they have no idea what the difference between sleeping one place is and sleeping the other places, other than signs that are posted, logical thoughts. But if you're criminalizing them for sleeping on City of Phoenix property, that's not appropriate underneath the ruling. Okay, then the second thing is a different ruling. It's called Levon v. City of Los Angeles. And in this, if you have the police seizing any property, which they do about 2 times a week around Cass, and probably also do during whenever they're arresting somebody for sleeping, their property needs to be stored for 90 days. And that's under the Levon v. City of Los Angeles ruling. So I would encourage you to pay attention to and follow both of these rulings, not only because I know that you're not following them, but also because it could in the future confer a liability, and I would prefer you do it administratively.
Thank you. Chloe Roy. And Chloe will be followed by Robert Storbeck.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and what I excuse me. What I'd like to bring up is there needs to be better solutions to help the homeless get healed and restored. For example, I suggested that there would be transportation, food provided to make sure people are getting to such things as 12-step programs. So this could help with the homeless not needing to end up in these situations, and some alternative cares that could be offered so that they could have a chance to be more restored, so this wouldn't be such a big problem. I think that a lot of these services in behavioral health care are actually very abusive and not helpful. So there are other ideas I highly suggest learning from lifeskills.intl.org, and perhaps there could be some changes in how we could help the homeless get healed and restored, so this couldn't be such a big deal.
Thank you for your testimony. Robert will be followed by Charles Howe or Hobb. Wonderful, thank you. And that was Robert does not need to speak? No. Charles? Okay. And Robert will be followed by Jesus.
First of all, thank you for your time. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to address the topic. I'm a little rusty at this public speaking, so I'm doing the best I can here. I've lived in Phoenix about 3.5 years. I first got here, I was experiencing homelessness. I have noticed that sometimes there's a little bit of game playing as far as some people say you can't sleep here, but you can sleep here, and I've gone bounce and kind of dealt with that, bounced back and forth. I do realize it's also very easy with the homelessness. You see some of us were struggling with drugs and alcohol, and it's easy to use that basically as leverage to say, you know, that's all they're doing. They're just running around, they're causing chaos, they're trashing campsites. And that's a small portion of us, so for all of us to get labeled as that, I believe is very unfair. Basically, I guess the encounters with law enforcement, it would be most helpful for them to let us know what are our options, especially if we are coming from another state. We just got here, we are dealing with, you know, our outside issues, and to let us know resources. And I think that working together, that is the best way to resolve this issue. And I guess that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesus Mejias will be followed by Greeley Peterson.
How you doing? I'm Jesus Mejias. I agree with most of the things y'all talking about with the housing developments and everything in Phoenix. I'm from New York, Brooklyn. Most likely, more importantly, I think y'all should help the homeless out a little bit more. Y'all don't pay attention to us. I've been out here for 4.5 years. Been homeless twice since I've been out here. I'm a local welder for the state of Arizona for Phoenix. Went to Arizona Automotive Institute. I still can't even find me a decent apartment. I got 4 kids and a wife, legally married now. I'm paying for a 1-bedroom apartment in the state of Arizona almost $1,300 for a 1-bedroom apartment, no utilities included, because I'm a felon. Out here in the state of Arizona, it's so crazy. There's so much homeless people out here, and y'all don't help them at all. Y'all building all these new high-rises out here in Phoenix that cost $1,300, $1,500 for a studio. Why don't y'all invest in building new shelters or investing money into the shelters to help the shelters out to make more space for the homeless people, instead of them having y'all sleeping in front of y'all buildings, government buildings y'all don't like, charging us with trespassing or saying we stink or whatever the case might be. I think y'all should help the homeless out more. I agree with what y'all doing to build the city and make it better, but y'all should help the homeless out more. Invest in it. Look into it. Us people are just humans just like y'all. Y'all might not think it, but I think so. Y'all should invest in us and work with us. Try to build developments or invest in the shelters, something to get us off the streets. Like my mama told me, if you want help, you got to get help. Learn it from yourself. You can't depend on nobody. You got to do it yourself to get the help. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Have a good day.
Our final card is from Greeley Peterson.
Hello, how's everyone doing? Again, thank y'all for y'all service. My name is Greeley Peterson. I am an 11-year veteran, U.S. veteran, but I'm also currently homeless. I agree with my constituent right there that we should be more of face value to the homeless. I'm in neutral with this plan because, again, business-wise, do not of course, have anyone just sleeping outside your business. It brings down value. We get it. The homeless gets it. They're very literate people. But also, you cannot police homelessness. We get that also. You cannot trespass homeless. That's just common sense. You don't need a bachelor's or PhD to figure that out. So what do? I asked this whole mayor team, which I'm very proud to be a part of Phoenix, to actually show face, speak to the homeless. Go down there and volunteer at least one day a year. We do recognize that y'all are very busy and that y'all are promoting Phoenix to the best of the ability. So again, show face, go down there and support. Talk to your policemen, talk to the men in blue, the people I respect as well. There's a lot of veterans down there that have faithfully served the country, that we should actually hear their words because our voice does matter. All right, so that's what they're not feeling. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Do we have any of our representatives here to speak with them and see if we can provide some services? Thank you, Michelle.
Wonderful, thank you. We do not have any additional cards. If you would like to testify, will you fill out a card when you are done? Okay.
I did.
And we do have cards for citizen comment.
Yes.
Okay. You would like to speak on this agenda item?
Yes, I would. Just for a moment. Thank you, Mayor and members. My name is Beverly Wilson, and I recently became homeless as a month and a half ago. Did I choose to become homeless? No, I didn't. Do I enjoy it? No, I don't. Like a lot of the people that have come down here with me, I'd like to see improvements, more shelters, more resources that are easy. You know, a lot of people look at us like we're criminals. It's bad enough that the shelters that we're in right now call us clients, but yet they treat us as inmates. Then on the outside, if we're sitting on the sidewalk or something, we have the police rolling by telling us we have to be on the other side when we line up between Cass and Andre House. We're not all bad people. Yes, there's some people that choose to stay homeless, but don't categorize us all as that way. I'd like to invite any member of council to come and spend a day in the life of one of our shoes from 5 a.m. up until 8 p.m. You'll see a lot of different things. Interesting, you'll smell a lot of different smells. You'll eat a lot of different foods. But just experience, it's really humbling, and it's really sad at the same time that people go on and on about their everyday and just ignore us. We're people, we're human, and we deserve dignity. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, and we did have your card. It was mismarked for citizen comment, which is the next item. We have a few others that are marked for citizen comment, which I think may also be on this topic, so we'll go ahead and move to citizen comment. All right, Jennifer Menges or Menges?
My name is Jennifer Mingus, and I am a sinner saved by grace. I'm a mother of 12, including 5 very real babies who died before they were born. I come before you to talk about one of the most important issues in our country right now. The issue today isn't that there are unwanted pregnancies enslaving women. The real tragedy is that children are seen as a burden and not a blessing. Teens and young adults are being taught that having a child will destroy their lives. Yet God, the giver of all life, always calls children a blessing. They are his image bearers. We as older men and women should be coming alongside young parents and sharing our wisdom and experience and even our resources with them, encouraging them and equipping them to step into the role that God has appointed them to so they can flourish, not paving the way for them to murder their own flesh and blood because their lives are about to change. As our God-appointed magistrates, you are to stand for justice and protect the innocent, but you do not. Every day, thousands of babies are murdered across our country, and Phoenix is no different. In reference to minimum wage, you said you wanted Phoenix to be an example, and that is a good thing. But upholding Arizona Statute 13-3603, defying Roe v. Wade, and declaring Phoenix to be a sanctuary city for the preborn would be an even greater example. Maybe you are afraid of the consequences of making the right decision today. Maybe it will cost you everything. I implore you, do it anyway. It's always best to follow and obey the Lord. Matthew 10:28 admonishes us, do not fear those who kill the body but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. I fear for you on that day that God judges your souls. When Cain killed Abel, God said in Genesis 4:10, what have you done? The blood of your brother cries out to me from the ground. Can you imagine the din from the voices of the blood of 42 million aborted babies crying out against you? I'm sure that you've heard the roar of a football stadium. Now imagine that 600 times louder. It will be deafening. And without the blood of Christ atoning for your sinful complicity in the abortion of these babies, you will be defenseless. This is the tale of two bloodshed. One will save you on the last day, and one will condemn you. No good works you do will offset the weight of the sin you bear. But as powerful as the cries of these murdered babies are against you, Jesus is infinitely more able to wash you clean of the children's blood you have bathed in and declare you forgiven before God. Repent and believe this day that Jesus Christ died, was buried, and rose again for the forgiveness of sins. Thank you.
Thank you. James Deibler, followed by Elaine Stanton.
Hello, I am James Deibler. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, in the Phoenix Council District 5. I would like the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department to provide security at Valley Metro Light Rail stations. The sheriff deputies will do an excellent job in providing security and keep passengers safe on the light rail. If Valley Metro decided to replace regular security guards with MCSO sheriff deputies, this will be a smart move by the transit agencies. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department has a contract with Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority to provide security to the light rail system. Finally, there is a rundown house at 6731 West Hedgerow Street in Phoenix, Arizona. 11 years ago, the house used to be in excellent condition. Since the owner's grandmother passed away in 2013, this house starting to look run down because of a trailer in the backyard. There is a broken window on the side of the doors, and the swamp coolers have started falling off from the roof. I contacted the City of Phoenix Housing Department to check out this property, but they were too busy. I would like the Housing Department to check out this property again to make sure they don't have safety violations. I used to live in this Maryville neighborhood for 12 years. Thanks for the consideration.
Thank you. Elaine Stanton.
Hello, my name is Elaine Stanton. I'm a Phoenix resident, and I'm thankful to stand in front of you with respect to your appointed office. You know the public evaluates the performance of its elected officials by what happens at these meetings. This is the time to hear citizens and show them that the council is capable of doing its job. I'm a subscriber to the truth of the gospel, God's word, which says that a baby is made in the image of God, and murder is killing of innocent blood. Abortion is murder. Yes, I'm here to talk about it. I'm going to ask you 2 questions and present 2 challenges. Question number 1, you have the power and responsibility to protect the citizens of this city, including those without a voice or a vote. Will you declare Phoenix a sanctuary city, protecting the human rights of all its tiny residents, the preborn? Will you make this resolution and have it state that innocent human life deserves to be protected, as life is the first declared right in the Declaration of Independence? I think it's ironic that several other U.S. city councils are declaring their cities sanctuary cities for immigrants brought to the United States illegally as children, but our U.S. cities can't even protect our own preborn child citizens. Question 2, we're coming up on 47 years of legal abortion since Roe v. Wade, where Planned Parenthood performs 300,000 child murders per year. And Arizona is all aboard, even though we have a law prohibiting abortion, AZ Statute 13-3603. Why is this law not enforced? Under this unenforced Arizona law, a person can face time in prison for giving a woman a pill or using an instrument to procure a miscarriage. A woman can face up to 5 years in prison for soliciting medication or drugs to undergo an operation that will procure a miscarriage. When you took an oath and were sworn in, was that to uphold the whole law, or was it just to uphold parts of the law? Challenge number 1. I know over 40 people who have stood right where I'm standing, asking you to uphold AZ 13-3603, Mate Kate Gallego. I watched your inauguration speech, and when you took your oath of office, you said, I, Kate Gallego, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor to the best of my ability, so help me God. So I challenge you, Mayor, Honorable Representative, to do just that, to uphold AZ Statute 13-3603, and to protect the unborn citizens of this city. And finally, I plead with you, do not stand for or against the pro-choice or pro-life movements. Rather, stand up for the truth and abolish abortion in this city, so help you God.
Mike Hendrickson.
Hello again, Honorable City Council members. My name is Michael Hendrickson. I'm a faith believer in Jesus Christ and a member of Apologia Church here in the Valley. I'm a proud husband, father, engineer, and military veteran. Welcome especially to you, Mayor Gallego. Our church and my family have been praying for you. Recently, we heard from a gentleman pleading for the life of plants here today. I'm here to plead for the life of precious unborn children. The last time that I spoke before the council was on Ash Wednesday. That afternoon, I noticed that a few sitting before me had ashes on their foreheads. The reason that I bring this up is that since multiple members of this council had ash on their foreheads, I would think it would be safe to assume that they call themselves Christians. 2 weeks ago, a council member stated that he was emphatically pro-life. I wonder what that meant. I'm here to call each and every one of you to action. If you are a self-professed Christian, you cannot stand by in support of the selfish murder of human beings in your own backyard. As a citizen, I need to know that I can count on my government to stand up for the helpless and defend those that they are responsible for. We remind this panel every time that we come that Arizona Revised Statute 13-3603 outlaws abortion in our state. Do not be cowards and worry about what the pro-choicers are going to think, but rather focus on the lives of the unborn children who deserve a future. Science is on your side, God is on your side, and the majority of your constituents are on your side. Last time I spoke and presented a few of the excuses made by the pro-choice community. I'd like to address another today. I often hear, well, ever since Roe versus Wade, abortion has been now made legal. As we all know, the Supreme Court cannot make laws. Roe versus Wade was a court opinion. The only law that we have on the books actually outlaws abortion. There are major cities across the nation that have defied the U.S. federal law on immigration, and they claim sanctuary for the people coming to the U.S. looking for refuge. Why can't we do that in Phoenix for our unborn American citizens? You might be afraid to be the first city to do this, but guess what? Roswell, New Mexico has already paved the way for us, becoming the first city in the U.S. to declare it as a sanctuary city for the unborn. I quote, "The protection of human life is important to the people of the city of Roswell," end quote. No babies will be murdered there, praise God. The court decision in the 70s was issued when we did not know that life began at the conception. Today, there is no longer any debate within the scientific community. The moment of conception is when the baby is given its own DNA. The mother does not have 2 hearts when she's 5 weeks pregnant or 4 arms and 4 legs when she's 6 weeks pregnant. Don't patronize women by assuming that they don't know that the body inside of them is not their own body. They are not stupid. We can agree that, or can we agree that my body, my choice is a punchline and not a valid argument for murdering a child? The one true God and your Creator demands that you prevent the murder of these babies. And it's obvious today by the items discussed here at the council that you care about human dignity. I ask that you do it for my unborn neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffy Hendrickson of Chandler, Arizona, followed by Jeremiah Roberts of Scottsdale.
Good afternoon. I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I respect each and every one of you, as well as the power granted to your elected positions by our Creator, the one true God. Like the others you had heard from today, I am here to plead with you on behalf of those being brutally murdered in each one of your districts, in our city, and in our state. I have to stand up and speak because these children no longer have a voice. They are dead. As their mothers cry themselves to sleep, heavily burdened by their choice to destroy a living being, I am here as a female voice begging for your support. These children, endowed by their Creator as unique and special, need you to do your job. These women need you and are relying upon you to stand up for them, protect them, and educate them on their other options. Allowing and promoting abortion on demand does not give women health care rights. It harms them. Asking a doctor to stick metal instruments inside of you to rip out pieces of your unborn child is a traumatic experience that does nothing to end the consequences of your decision. The sad truth is these women are still mothers. They are just mothers of dead babies. Because of this truth, abortion most certainly is anti-woman. Not only because it ravages the womb of women, but also because it destroys a young girl's chance to become a woman. Millions of women have no chance to be elected by their peers. Millions of women have no chance to play sports or serve their country. Millions of women and all their ideas have died at the hands of those who are supposed to protect them. That includes you, and even though you won't look up from your phones right now, that includes you too, and you are responsible. By abdicating your responsibility to uphold the law and protect the innocent, you are participating in a great moral evil that robs children of their future. You were elected to serve this city and its inhabitants by upholding the law and punishing those who seek to undermine your authority and well-being of those you preside over. You guys are tasked with making moral judgments all the time, so you cannot pretend that there's nothing you can do. We are here to demand you move now to save those innocent among us. It's part of your job. You can regulate, establish fines, and make Phoenix a sanctuary city for the unborn. Councilman DeCiccio, I wish you were here in person. I want to ask you personally to stand up today. Prove your walk can match your talk. The last time I was here, you said, "I'm pro-life." What does that mean? Be a man and protect women and children like you have been chosen to do. Your constituents will support you, sir. I ask all of you today, uphold Arizona Revised Statute 13-3603, which states that those who dissolve human beings chemically or suck them limb from their mother's womb shall be sent to prison. Do your duty. Support women. Save children. Thank you.
Jeremiah will be our last speaker today.
Ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the Phoenix Council, Mayor Kate Gallego, my name is Jeremiah Roberts. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, a local resident, and a member of Apologia Church. I'm here for several reasons today. The first is to follow the fifth commandment and honor my mother and father, Kenny and Patty Roberts. They are not with me here today, but the reason why I want to do that is because today is my birthday. April 17th, 1981 is when I came into this world. And the reason why is because my parents are both Christians. They love the Lord Jesus Christ. And this verse in Psalms is very relevant to their decision to bring me into this world when it said, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, and offspring a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them, and they will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court." So that being said, I'm here with respect to graciously contend with all of you in this court setting, specifically to bring up the issue of those in the state of Arizona with special needs, and specifically Down syndrome. It was because specifically they're ones who have been targeted by Planned Parenthood, and specifically with abortion. You look right now in other countries, you look at places like Poland, the Netherlands, and Iceland, where people with Down syndrome have been systematically eliminated, specifically by abortion. And this is happening here today. It's a shameful reflection, and here today in our society, we cloak ourselves in virtue by, for example, hosting the Special Olympics for special needs kids, when in reality they are the only ones who have made the cut that haven't been murdered because they've been deemed inconvenient and undesirable. As members of the civil magistrate, you have a duty before God to uphold the right to life to these very privileged special needs kids who are made in the image of God. I have many dear friends who are special needs workers. I've dealt with and worked with people with special needs directly. They are amazing, beautiful, and wonderful people. They do not think that they are a mistake, and you have a right to uphold that. Right now, statistically, 161 babies are born in the state of Arizona with Down syndrome. But statistically across the state, across the country, it's roughly around 67 to 85% of those with Down syndrome that are aborted. So I don't even want to try and do the math, but that is not right. That is not right. So we can't cloak ourselves with virtue, thinking that we care for them when we are ignoring that percent that have not been given the right to life. So I just want to say, please do your civic duty and protect your unborn neighbors, specifically our unborn neighbors with special needs that deserve the right to live. Make Phoenix a sanctuary city. Please uphold AZ 13-3603, and please defy Roe v. Wade. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are adjourned.